AI Data and AI Summit is where some of the coolest things appear. And so I want to take you through some of the highlights. There really were a lot of updates this year. We're not going to be able to cover all of them today. I've pulled out some of the ones which I think are really key, and we'll go through those with you. AI is only as good as the data underneath it, and we've done a lot of work to bring that data together on the Lakehouse, and now using AI on top of the Lakehouse, we're able to get the context that's needed to build your AI. The key focus areas of ongoing development in Databricks really fall into 4 main pillars. There's the agentic data, where we continue to evolve the core data platform to ensure that the best of breed performance of all applications and agents need reliable data. So we need to get that data in. We need to be able to process it and access it quickly. The next one is agentic dev and work, where we're building the tools and assistants to reduce the cost and increase the efficiency of work, be it for development of applications or for day-to-day work for your knowledge workers. Super important is context, control, and choice. All of what we do is based on allowing you to choose which model, which agentic framework, and even which platform, which cloud you want to work on. And so the capabilities of the platform are designed to give you that choice, and we continue to develop in that spirit. There are 2 main applications which we've developed, and Customer Lake for marketing analytics was announced at DAIS, and is an exciting topic if you need an application of that sort. And LakeWatch, which is an AI-powered SIEM and SOC, and allow you to really control your environment. Some of these are really foundational changes and evolutions of the platform. So really important stuff. We will focus quite heavily on the things that are most important to you as government, public sector, which is governance, both AI governance and data governance, as well as how you can implement AI, and that's the genie at the bottom. So let's start with Lakehouse RT, or real time. And we've seen in the past that analytics platforms like Databricks, DB SQL are really good at doing big, complex queries, being able to mash up massive amounts of data and give you really good insights quickly. They're able to perform really well on large amounts of data. And they can also handle small queries, but the nature of the platform means that those small queries have typically a 1 to 2 second latency. The overheads of running a big data analytics platform have meant that it's been difficult to get below 1 second latency. I'm not saying that a query couldn't be done in less than 1 second, many do, but the consistent latency of sub 1 second has been difficult. And the accepted wisdom is that if you need sub 1 second latency, so millisecond latency, maybe to support your web application or heavily used dashboards or what have you, then you would typically copy your data into another third-party application. And really, that goes against the very nature of what we do with the Lakehouse. You're creating a new silo, expensive and separate from your source of truth, which is your Lakehouse. Separate data store, just for those low latency use cases. And worst of all, separate governance, just what we built the Lakehouse to avoid. So what we've done is look at this completely differently and say, what if we could create a single platform, a new engine that could handle both large queries and low latency queries? It would be able to solve all of the problems of running a separate serving stack. And it's called Raiden, and it was given that name by the development team. And it's named after one of our co-founders, Reynolds, and it's Reynolds Dream Engine. And apparently they gave it that name so that the project wouldn't be culled and deprioritized, because if it's named after a founder, they couldn't get rid of it, right? And it actually turned out to be unbelievably successful. It's able to run both small and large queries, and really, really high, low latency and high concurrency. And moving forward, this will become the engine of Databricks for many applications. It will power Lakehouse RT, which is a millisecond performant SQL engine, allowing massive concurrency. And most importantly, it runs on the data in your lake. So it's just another engine sitting on top of your existing data. We think it's an exciting and important step into the future. So the next thing I want to look at is LTAP. And what is LTAP, I hear you say? Well, in the world of data, in the known data realm, there are traditionally two types of data. There's, on the right-hand side, there's analytical data, and on the left-hand side, there's transactional data or operational data. And traditional wisdom, again, says that ne'er the two shall meet. And the requirements are very different. And it's been very hard to have a single system to run both. And our answer to this, which was recently released, was Lakebase. Lakebase is an OLTP database based on Postgres. So it's a fully standard Postgres database, but for the cloud era. It's running on the same lake storage that you store your analytical data, and it serves your transactional applications. But there's still a gap, right? The two are not the same. So how do we truly unify transactional analytical data? And it's a real architectural problem, because OLTP needs constant low latency reads and writes, and uses a row-based storage. So all of your transactional databases store data in row-based storage for the reasons that they need to be able to do this constant low latency reads and writes. Analytical data, on the other hand, to be able to do the huge aggregations and the large scans, uses a columnar data format. And this is the main reason we can't have a single engine that is able to do both jobs really, really effectively. And this is where our development team started thinking, and they looked at the architecture of the Lakebase. And Lakebase looks something like this, and it uses an architecture which separates storage from compute. And the compute talks to a safekeeper, which is able to collect all of the transactions that are occurring on the data, passes it to a page server, which puts it into a consistent format that is then synchronized to storage, your cloud storage, as well as being able to serve page reads. And obviously it stores in row by row data. But the thing that we noticed was that this page server is very much IO bound. It's waiting for the cloud storage to write these rows. And we thought, well, can we actually use the spare compute in this page server to do something really clever? And what was that really clever thing? That really clever thing was, as Lakebase compute processes inserts or creations of new rows, they pass it to the storage, but at the same time, the storage actually transcodes the stored rows into multiple columns. So it's in a format which is then readable by the Lakehouse compute. So effectively, when Lakebase writes to the cloud storage, it's automatically written in a format that's usable both by the operational data compute as well as the analytical data compute. And this is where we came up with the term LTAP, Lake Transactional Analytical Processing, effectively being able to do both analytical and operational transactional workloads on top of a single copy of the data. It's absolutely revolutionary and will change the way the world works in terms of data. We'll have a single copy of the data. There's no compromise on performance because we're still using the right engine for the right job. And we're not copying the data, so there's no pipelines that can break. There's no CDC. With this in place, we're able to have a single LAN, the LTAP LAN, where all data is merged into a single copy. It's absolutely amazing what is possible when great minds come together. So that's LTAP. Do take a look if you have use cases. I know most of the customers on this call will be using our Lakehouse technology, may not have looked at our transactional technology yet. I encourage you to do so. It can be a great way to unify all of your data into one place, one governance, one storage, one data world. Next key announcement I thought was really amazing was the announcement of our managed DR solution. And this is both on the transactional data front as well as on the Lakehouse data front. On the Lakehouse front, what we're looking at is a managed disaster recovery option, enabling you to automatically copy your data from a primary region to a secondary region. And I know some of you on the call will say, well, we only work in one region, and that's Sydney. The really cool part is that region could be on a separate cloud. So if you're running on Azure, you can have your second region as the same geographical location, but on AWS, for example. We'll manage the replication for you, and we'll give you stable connections. So the clients won't need to know. So something's going on here.
Apologies, yeah. Just click your button again. I seem to.
You've taken over.
Dealing with Microsoft Teams webinar mode, it's a bit different to the normal mode. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Just be sitting there.
Here we go. Okay. So yeah, we will manage the replication, and we'll give you stable connections, which means your clients don't need to care. Key features: any cloud, any region. So you can select any region, whether it's on the same cloud or a different cloud, to act as your secondary. We automate the replication. So the Lakehouse assets, catalogs, metadata, and data will be targeting less than or equal to 15 minutes RPO and to the other region or cloud. Powered by serverless compute, so it's highly efficient, scales as needed to manage that those requirements. And the easy failover will be at the customer's fingertips. We're not going to automatically failover. We will leave it up to you if you want to failover or not. And if you do, we will aim to have a recovery time objective of 15 minutes or so. And as I mentioned, stable connection URLs for your customers. So I think for many of us, this is a welcome addition to the suite. It will be an option to set up these secondaries and run this DR option. And I think it will be, not everybody will need it, but a lot of people, I think, will appreciate the ability to do this. And moving swiftly on, we're going to now switch over to talk about Unity AI Gateway. This is a fantastic new addition to the platform, sitting alongside Unity Catalog. And for this, I'm going to hand over to Chris, and Chris can take us through the key announcements for Unity AI Gateway.
I can indeed. Thanks, Ian. So this is also another, I think, great announcement. People have been asking for this type of thing for a while. So let me take through it. So Unity AI Gateway, right? There's been a few incarnations of AI Gateway, Mosaic Gateway, etc. But now everything is coming into one place where we can actually control everything, right? From the agents, the models, the MCP servers, etc. And I'm going to dive into that in a bit. So we really believe that you need to have these things in place. If you thought Maslow's hierarchy is gone, I put together this slide. So there's now the agentic build hierarchy of needs, because there's a lot of effort going into these things about LLM as judges as LLMs, and prompt optimization and things like that. But as you push out these tools to your workforce, unless you've got that bottom layer in place, there's going to be some trouble later on, right? Because you've got models, you've got agents coming out of your ears. Everyone has an agent now. Everyone's got an MCP server, which is great for productivity, right? But you may have seen in the news that then this can cause some issues, right? If you don't have these guardrails in place, there's people blowing their budgets left, right, and center, right? This whole term of token maxing, some companies, incentivized using AI. So, how many tokens are you burning? Because that means you're being more productive, but actually, you can see Uber burn through their entire budget in just 4 months, right? So you don't want that to happen. And Unity AI Gateway is here to help. But AI there's cost involved, but you should be getting the value an order of magnitude more than actually what you're spending on it. But there needs to be controls in place. So this is where AI Gateway has come in. It's in the Agent Bricks offering. And hopefully you have come across all the other parts that we talk about, but this is where it kind of sits on the right hand side, so we can put in that observability and governance layer in there. I will be doing a bit of a demo on this later on, but I will just walk you through now, because a lot of these things, AI Gateway is there, and I'm going to show you what's available now, but some of these things here are in private preview, and we have public preview as well, and some of these things are going GA, and a lot of these are all happening in the next few months. But this is the page that you will get to, and in here you can go and you can add in providers and MCPs and even skills, etc. But the reason why this is important having it here is because everything you add in through the AI Gateway and govern through it is part of the Unity Catalog, right? So you have the same permissions models, you can have lineage in there, all the good stuff that you get from Unity Catalog. If we start with, what would you use Unity AI Gateway for? It's providing your AI endpoints to your enterprise, right? To your employees, and this is in the form of, say, you can be consuming the Claude endpoints or any of the other endpoints for applications if they want to use it, or perhaps for engineering here, like you set up one endpoint for your engineering, and all their Claude code or whatever Cursor or Codex or whatever they're using on their laptops can actually come through Databricks, right? And the beauty here is when you add these in is that you don't have to have separate contracts with, say, Anthropic or Meta, etc. It can all come through Databricks as well. So it's a nice one place to have all the governance, but also all the bills come through in one place as well. I'll take you through this in a minute, but as you add an endpoint, you can add in guardrails and everything else. One of the great things of the features that's just being released is the real fine-grained usage analytics that you can have. So I'll dive into this in more when I go into the actual dashboards here, but you can see who's using what coding agents, what MCP servers are being used, and more importantly, what my customers very much been asking about, like, who's using what, who's using the most, who's burning the tokens and costing us money. So that's also in there as well. And those are all pushed through Unity Catalog, as I said, so you can come in there and govern. The traces here on the right hand side, that's also really important as well. So you can set up inference tables and also the traces, so you can actually see agent input and output and actually trace it back to the data that it's getting. So that's a really cool feature as well. So you can actually see what's going on. And because it's been written to tables, inference tables and things like that, you can actually start to use Genie to do some cool stuff on that. For instance, we at Databricks, we had the latest models available, but then it found out, most people are using Opus just to do, open a GitHub PR, right? And it's burning tokens, right? So it's overkill. So you can kind of go in there and say, well, what's the deal? Who's doing overkill? And then you can help set the guidelines and guardrails, etc., for using that. The whole idea of this is that, if you don't have governance, your costs go shooting up, but with AI Gateway, you can keep those costs down and go to value maxing, as we're calling it internally at Databricks. So rather than token maxing, it's okay, use AI, please do, but like you should be maxing the value, not just maxing the tokens. Agent registry is another component of that. So we can actually now register agents, so internal agents that you've created. I think Ian's going to talk about Genie a bit later on. Spoiler alert, like Genie Spaces is now called Genie Agents, and you can register these through here as well, so we can control who's accessing those, and just like you can through any other Unity Catalog functionality. MCP servers work the same too, so external ones. So we can connect anything there, like we have Slack and Atlassian, all the things here that you say that I've got connected on my box and our workspaces, but you can do that as well, and you can govern those as well. So now this is one of the cool things that's coming. It's the ability to have contextual policies. Now, what does this mean? It means that you may have strict guardrails about what an agent can do with regards to, say, PII data, right? But sometimes, in the context of using it internally with your colleagues, that should be okay. But if you're trying to send it externally, that's a big no-no, right? So there's context we can put into the security policies that we can apply to the agents and the endpoints. So, for instance, here, PII, sensitive data. You could send an email. You could have the agent be able to send it to a coworker, right, within your department. That's fine. But anything else, like pushing it on the outside, that is not going to be allowed. So it's a really nice way of doing it, and also it's in SQL as well. So if you understand SQL, and it's actually very easy to understand anyway, even if you don't understand SQL, it's a nice way of declaring these policies. And for all the cyber conscious people in the room, etc., we can integrate with all the third-party tools. So, for instance, if you're using CrowdStrike as well, you can have those pre-built policies can come in as well, so you can apply those in there. So, third-party extensibility is ready to go. Now, this is the other big one that I've been asked for a lot, and we're delivering very soon. It's coming. I think that we'll be able to talk about when these things are available, but all in the next few months or so. But the budget's here. So stopping people like on a hard limit, you could say, okay, well, we'll have a budget for power users. They can use $500 a month of AI tokens, right? But once they hit that limit, the endpoints stop, right? They're not able to do it more. Or you could be a bit nicer and send warnings, etc., on different limits. But you can set these on weekly and monthly or even daily limits, and you can do that on a group or even on a user level as well. So that's a really, really good feature, I think, for being able to really control that spend. Routing. So this is pretty good. So one feature is on the roadmap. We're not sure when this is turning up, but it is. You can see where they're going. Is the ability to know whether it's a trivial task or a complex task. And then when it's trivial, we go and use a cheaper model. But when it's more complex, you use the more expensive models. So that will help automatically cater for those things where people are trying to use, Opus 4.8 for GitHub Actions. Now, what is available is on the right-hand side, which is the routing. So if you have an SLA where you always have to have in your application, you're using an endpoint, one of these endpoints, But you can't, you're worried if, say, OpenAI drops their, they have a bad day and it disappears and your application will die. You can actually set up fallbacks, so you can actually drop down to different models, and even third ones there as well. So you can kind of see here from OpenAI to Azure GPT, etc. So you can go cross providers as well, giving you that redundancy and that always-on capability. Guardrails. Kind of table stakes these days, but it's definitely there in AI Gateway. So we're able to add out of the box guardrails for instance, PII redaction or violence and hate speech, those type of things. If they don't work for you entirely, and you have your enterprise, your department has something more strict, then you can create your own. We've got the ability to add in custom guardrails as well. So everything is catered for there. So you can beef up the policies and be even more strict as you go through. We have a lot of the foundation model APIs that we can provide, but you may want to have one of the foundation models provided by a different service, for instance, straight from Azure OpenAI or Microsoft Foundry. And I'll show you just quickly in a minute on how you can do that, but you can set that up and also control. So if you didn't want to have two governance planes, then you can just pipe everything through this one AI gateway and you have the control across the lot. That's all the features, but let me show you where this lives, because maybe a lot of you haven't turned it on. It's currently down on the left-hand side here, AI Gateway, and I do believe, Ian can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a beta feature which you can turn on in your preview settings. So if I click on AI Gateway here, we can see we have all the provided models here. But let's say I wanted to add a new model endpoint, okay, and I wanted this for the engineering team. And I want to give them to Opus 4.8. So maybe this is Opus 4.8. So I can do that. I can click create, and this will go on. And now this is actually, if you have a look, it's actually in Unity catalog here, and it just appears as one of the services here. So I can set the permissions, and I can grant access to the particular people that I want. We can add in the budgets, but also the policies as well. So this is where I was saying we can add in our policy, and let's make sure that this endpoint always blocks PII. So I can add this in here and hit create there. Okay, and then I can add in new policies, etc. We can put them on top and push them all through. The routing, as I said, maybe this is like a critical. We can have our engineering team not being able to access these things. So maybe let's drop back to maybe open weight one, right? And we can add that in there. So you can add that through, which is pretty cool. So yes, that's the adding the models. But if we go back here, so this is the providers. So if I wanted to add in a provider, as I said, you can choose here. If we had some of the maybe an embedding model that came through Microsoft Foundry, you can add that in there, and you can use Enter ID to pass it all the way through to be able to access that. That is there. What's the other cool thing? I think it's the usage dashboard. So if I click on usage dashboard here, I can bring that in. You can kind of see for this workspace, we've got an overview here. But if I look at the usage, we can see number of active users. We can see token usage per user. Maybe this one was open earlier, which I already had. Just to stop the queries. They take about 5-6 seconds, but that's important. So usage here, we can come down and we can see who's using what. There we go. So you can kind of see all that. The cost analysis, that's the really important one that people are asking. So you can see just the last 14 days on this workspace, a couple of $100, not too bad, but you could come in here and you can actually see who's actually consuming those and which models are coming through, right? You could also see if you have your coding agents set up. People are using Claude Code here a lot, but they're actually all coming through and we can pick that up. And we can see who's using those things there, and MCP and everything else. So we can really dive into these analytics and really get a grip of what's going on in your estate. Sometimes if you don't have this visibility, it's really a bit of a black box and you just get the bill at the end of the day. So this is really what we're trying to prevent. And of course, as I said, you could ask Genie on the side and start asking questions about the data as well. And I think, yes, agents, we can add in agents here. This is covering an MCP service, and also skills will appear here as well. So you can have a vetted number of skills that can be accessed by people in your company as well. I think that's probably it for the AI gateway. I might hand back to Ian, just in conscious of the time. There's a load more to get through, but hopefully you understand what AI gateway is providing, and it's going to be useful to you.
Unity AI Gateway, the way to govern AI in your organization, and not just the things that are running in Databricks. You can govern coding tools, for example, when people are running GitHub Copilot or what have you, or you can govern models that are sitting in other systems like Bedrock or AI Foundry. It gives you the ability to govern all of your workloads, to give you that visibility, that token control and cost control, as well as just knowing what's happening. Half of the problem is not knowing which models are being used by which people within the organization. So having a unified gateway is really, really helpful. So take a look at it. And it is beta at the moment, but there is an intention that it be usable by customers by the end of this month. So end of July, we're intending to have it as a GA product because it's so important. There were some other key announcements around Unity Catalog. Unity Catalog being, of course, our centralized governance for data and AI. And within Unity Catalog, I've pulled out two of the most exciting ones, the ones I know my customers have been asking for some time. And just to remind you, Unity Catalog is the centralized governance, security, and cost controls over agents, models, and tools, a single place where you can govern all of your assets. One of the key requirements that I've had from many of my customers is around being able to govern across different regions or clouds. As you probably know, Unity Catalog, it sits on top of your metastore, and your metastore is usually, especially within Azure, a single metastore in a cloud region. So if you've got multiple clouds, AWS and Azure, or multiple regions, then you end up with multiple metastores, each one having their Unity Catalog. And whilst it's possible to share data between them, and many customers do using either Delta sharing or now open sharing, the actual visibility and governance of those assets is more limited because they're spread. So what I'm happy to announce is that we will be releasing Global UC. This will give us the ability to discover, govern, and access data and AI assets across clouds, regions, and unlock global compute optionality. This will give us the ability to see the data that's sitting in different Unity catalogs or metastores. So as you can see here, we'll have the ability to see all of the metastores that are available and drill into those metastores. And within the product, within Unity Catalog, we'll be able to reference data in different catalogs across metastores by extending the namespace, prefixing it with the metastore name. So we will now be able to access data from compute in one region into data that actually sits on a different cloud or on a different metastore somewhere else. I think this is a fantastic addition. It'll increase the usability of Unity Catalog. We say it's a central place to govern all of your assets. Now it really will be, because you'll be able to govern them across clouds and across regions, giving you global visibility and access, giving you that unified governance, so that single set of policies, permissions, and audit for data and AI assets. Doesn't matter where they sit. So it really is that unified governance layer that we always promised, and gives you that ability to use global compute. So leverage compute from any region or cloud to read or write data on any storage in any metastore, any region. Obviously, for public sector, especially in New South Wales, I know this is not something that would be useful, but certainly across clouds, if you've got Azure and AWS, and if you're thinking about that DR option that we talked about earlier, then having the ability to see what's across clouds really makes sense and really increases the breadth and usability of Unity Catalog. So a welcome addition coming soon. And with that in mind, and also just thinking in terms of a wider governance position, we're introducing Unity Catalog Governance Hub. This will sit in the account console and gives us the ability to unify the governance across workspaces and be able to see the data across the different areas and monitor and manage that enterprise-wide governance policies, cost, and AI usage. And especially now that we're looking at using AI, using Databricks as your central AI governance point, being able to see the costs across all of your estate in one place and govern those policies really makes sense. So Governance Hub is a unified command center. It allows you to manage and monitor the enterprise-wide governance policies, cost, AI usage, all in one screen. As you can see here, you get to see all the different things. Unified governance visibility. You can unify and monitor the governance posture across data, AI access, metadata usage, and cost, all in one view. It's an AI-powered system, so it's able to give you insights into the usage, so identify the governance gaps, risky access changes, unused assets, and policy drift, all using AI to help there. And one workflow for the governance operations, so you can manage ABAC, attribute-based access control policies, data tagging, classification, quality, and operations all through one experience. Again, I think this is a great addition to what's already a very powerful governance solution through Unity Catalog. So welcome addition. So that was Unity Catalog. So we finished the governance section. I want to now touch on something that's really quite new, innovative. It's a technology that was developed by a couple of the founders here at Databricks, and it was addressing some issues that we ourselves found. Databricks makes heavy use of AI coding assistants. All of our development teams make use of those tools to enhance the development of the product, but we saw some issues, and the big problem is not with the intelligence of the models. The models are getting really good, and the issue is more around the agent's harnesses, and that's the bit that sits around the model and tells it how to write code. And everyone can build their own agent harness, and in fact everyone has. So you have Claude Code, Codex, Anti-Gravity, Cursor, all of these different coding harnesses that sit around LLMs and help you to develop. Well, the issue is that not one is perfect for every use case, and different teams find that for their particular use case they use one harness or another, or in fact in many cases we found that we got the best results by using multiple harnesses, but they're each different and there's no way to unify them. So what we came up with was something to solve the key problems we found. There is a problem with interoperability. They're all different. They've all got their own APIs. They all work in a different way. And so we had issues. How do I compose agents that use different harnesses? So if I wanted to have, as is a real use case, Claude Code to write some code, and then codecs to write the tests and run the tests around that code. Right now, we'd have to do that in 2 separate parts. How do I collaborate across humans and agents? So if I'm working on something with a coding agent, it's typically sitting in a terminal on my laptop, and I can't share it with anyone. I can show them my laptop, but they really can't actually collaborate with me, and I can't get an agent to orchestrate another agent and then pass it off to a human and things like that. And the other big problem we found was, how do I control all my agents for cost and security? Security can be an issue with these agents. They have a lot of permissions, and if they're running on my laptop as me, they have access to a lot of things. And we have seen cases in the news and around the place where an agent using my credentials, using my access to some system, is able to do something I didn't intend it to do. So how can we actually control that a little bit more? So what we came up with was Omnigent. Omnigent is a meta harness. It's a harness of harnesses. It sits on top of the other coding agents. So whatever coding agents or custom agents that we have, we put a common API on top so that they could all be interoperable. And on top of that, we put a runner, something that is able to reconnect if disconnected, and offers sandboxing. So we can run the agents in a sandbox that only has the access that we give it within that sandbox. On top of that, we run a server, and that server adds functionality that makes life easier. So a history of all of the conversations we've had, a set of policies, artifacts, a catalog of all of the things that are available, access to Unity catalog to give MCP access and skills that we might want to use across different harnesses. And then on top of that, we can access it through different ways, either through a terminal UI, or we've added a web UI, which gives it a nice user interface, and also through native apps on Windows and Mac, and mobile UI even. One of the key things about running a server in a sandbox, if that sandbox is running on a server somewhere, then I can access it while I'm on the go. So I've heard stories about people getting into a taxi on the way to a customer site and keeping their laptop open because they don't want their coding agent to stop work. Well, if you're running on a server, then you can connect to that server from different places, from your phone, from your laptop through a web UI or through a native app, and the server will keep going, and the coding agent just keeps working. And of course, being Databricks, we have a wider ecosystem to be able to run that server. So you can run it through Docker, you can run it through different things, and we do telemetry through MLflow and through OpenTelemetry. So there's governance around all of what you do. Quick look at what the UI looks like if you're using the web interface or the native interface. You can see on the left, you've got a list of the serverless hosted sessions, so you can switch between sessions. At the bottom, you can choose which harness you want to use, so you can switch between harnesses, or you can even create custom agents which orchestrate access to different harnesses for different things. So we can actually, and we ship a couple of options. One is one that will give the same request to 2 different harnesses, like Claude Code and Codex, for example, and get them to each answer, and then get them to debate their answers and compare and contrast and come up with the best answer. So you're really getting the best of both worlds. Another one is an agent that can orchestrate access to multiple sub-agents and divide a task into multiple tasks and give the sub-agents. Up at the top left, you'll see an inbox. And this is where, if any of the coding agents that are running needs confirmation, needs a user to allow it to do something, then instead of just appearing in the chat and waiting, it appears in an inbox. So you can immediately see when something is waiting. You can step into the inbox and you can approve it. Really key also, being on a server, you can share with co-workers. They can access the same session. They can see it. They can comment on it. And they can even take over that work if you go on holiday or are in a meeting. And also, we're giving you the ability to see the files that are being worked on in this project. You can connect to repositories and work on those files within the same user interface to make it really cool. And it doesn't matter which harness you're using underneath. So that was Omnigent. It's an exciting addition to the coding agents world, makes development a lot easier and solves a lot of the problems we found internally. There is an open source version of Omnigent, which you can access, download. The hosted server can be hosted within Databricks. That's a preview or beta that's coming. It's not in Australia yet, but it will be soon. And that will give you the ability to actually host your sandboxes in Databricks and connect to it from your coding agents, from your user interface, either by a web interface or what have you. So that's another exciting thing coming. Another important point, Omnigent does connect to Unity Catalog, so it can make use of all of those token tracking and AI governance capabilities. So Unity AI Gateway will sit behind Omnigent if you want, and it can help you to track all of that usage. And you can see there are a number of components that now make up Genie, and we're going to go through and look at what those new capabilities are. So the first thing I want to say is that we've noticed, everyone's noticed, I guess, that the AI agents are getting better. And the problem with them isn't the intelligence. The actual models are actually really, really good. They can do a lot. They can, if you give them the right context, they're able to do everything we would want them to do, I believe. And they're getting better very quickly. But what we do have is a context problem. It's often hard to give them the context they need to be able to be really, really effective. What do we mean by context? Context is all of the information and the data that they need to make their decisions. And Unity Catalog offers a great way to give them your enterprise knowledge. And this is where Databricks is enhancing the product capabilities to be able to give the AI models the context they need to be really effective on your data. And this is the real big difference between something like a generic Gemini or ChatGPT and your enterprise Genie. That is your data. And whilst it's also always been possible to some of your data and manually give it to a model like Gemini and say, using this data, answer this question. Actually knowing which data, where to get it, and how to give it to the model is an issue. And which data is the right data, which data is the best data. And that's the issue we've had. Within Unity Catalog, we have a number of capabilities that we can use to get information about our data. One of them is metrics, and you've probably seen metric views before, but it's a centralized place to define your key KPIs, and you can author those KPI definitions within Unity Catalog alongside the schema and the data tables. And that way you've got a single source of truth for how KPIs are calculated. It's been an issue in the past that KPIs, your semantic layer, if you like, has resided in other tools, in your visualization tools, your dashboarding tool, for example. And whilst that was great, if you only have dashboards, if you actually want to access that data from an agent, it's not accessing the dashboard, it's accessing the data. So it needs access to that same semantic model. It needs those KPIs. So having them within Unity Catalog means that you can feed them to your dashboards, but you can also feed them to your Genie spaces and your other agents. And we offer the ability to query them from SQL, from MCPs, so agents can make use of them, from BI tools, or even custom apps through APIs. Another thing that we've added is a glossary, the ability to define authoritative concepts, terms, and taxonomies. And this helps AI models, as well as your actual human users, to understand what the data is and how it fits together. So we can define the what we actually mean by the terms we use within the business and how that relates to the data underneath. If you curate the glossary alongside your data assets, it means that you have a close tie. And if we make that available to the agents, they then have a better understanding of your business, of your data, and how that data is being used. In a similar and related way, we have domains. So within Databricks Unity Catalog, you can now define domains so that you can organize your data and AI assets into business-aligned groups. So that means that the AI agents, if they access this domain information as well, again, as your business users, they are able to understand the context of those data assets. We have a UI within Unity Catalog now to discover assets through an internal marketplace to look at the different domains, what data is being offered by those domains, which data assets, data products are being offered by those domains. And we also have the ability to certify the data assets. So essentially the business owner, the person who stewards that data, they can signal which data assets are the up-to-date ones, which are the ones that are the ones should be relied on. We all know there is often more data available than is to be relied on. It may be new versions of data, it may be old versions of data. There are key data assets that should be relied on for everything, and those we can certify. So these domains we can then give to Genie or to our AI. The bit that's missing is something that tells the AI agent, or the Genie in this case, which of that data is the most relevant for the particular question they ask. And this is where Genie ontology has come along. And with a lot of thought within Databricks, we looked at the different data sources, the different data assets, and we thought, how can we actually help an AI agent decide which ones are the most relevant? We did some testing with different models and different coding assistants, giving them access through skills and MCPs to different data in Databricks, in documents, in Confluence, in other applications, and asked it to answer typical questions that we ask internally. And what we found was they either made stuff up because they couldn't find it, or because they guessed what the answer was, or they took a long time, burnt through a lot of tokens, looking at every single possible option, and then choosing the first one that matched what they thought they were looking for. And that gave us pretty poor actual reliability of the data. It was coming up at less than 50% or around 50% for some of the agents and well below for other agents. So as well as costing by burning through lots of tokens, they were unable to get the right data that you could rely on. So thinking about the problem that Google faced when they first introduced web search, or their web search, they looked at how the web was being searched before, and they said they needed something that could trawl through the available pages and rank them based on some metric. They called it PageRank. What we've done is invent a new ranking called OntoRank for the ontology, which will give each asset that it finds within the catalog a ranking based on how new it is, how much it's being referenced by other things, perhaps by the author based on how many other things they've created, and many other metrics. And this will evolve over time and become more and more effective, but it will give us the ability to rank things such that when you ask Genie a question, it's able to look at the OntoRank and look for assets that rank highly for the particular question they ask. What that gives us is a really good way to find the data that's most relevant more quickly, so you get an answer more quickly, more reliably, because it gives you the data that's actually relevant, and it'll actually cost you less because it won't burn through as many tokens looking for the right data. Of course, it has to use your permissions. So when Genie asks a question, it understands who you are, and through Unity Catalog, it knows what access you have. So which snippets, which data it's allowed to actually use. So Genie is able to really give you the right data for you, not just trawling through and finding any data. The governance is there to make sure you only get the data that you need. Once it's found that data, the ontology then puts that into the agent loop as normal, as context, and gives you an answer. So with all of that, with all of the data that we've got available in Unity Catalog, and with the Genie ontology able to collate it, index it, and find the right assets, we're then able to create what we call Genie 1. And Genie 1 is, it used to be called Databricks 1. It's a business-facing UI that goes further. It actually acts as an AI co-worker so that you can use it to find the right information, to create documents, to the right information and answer questions. And it can do that across all of the data in Unity Catalog that you have access to. So it can answer questions and create those reports or responses based on your access, but it can do it really reliably and really quickly. And the best part, it's available as a user interface through the standard web user interface in Unity Catalog, but we've also released a mobile app that allows you to use it on the go, both iOS and Android. It's also got out-of-the-box integration with Slack and Teams so that you can embed this interface into those messaging apps if that's what you use. And we've also released an MCP server to give access to Databricks 1 from just anything that supports MCP, so any of your coding agents or your large language models. So you can Databricks 1 into your normal workflow, however that is. And this really will be your DataSmart AI co-worker, DataSmart being the key. Genie does have a cost. It's based on the token cost of the LLM that runs the actual processing. But in order to get it into as many hands as possible, as quickly as possible, we are offering a free $10 DBUs per user per month, so that you can actually use it, test it, see how amazing it is, and see the value it can bring you. So every user in the organization can have $10 DBUs of usage per month at no cost. So it's available now. The capabilities are rolling out So it is available now, but you will see more capabilities rolling into Genie 1 as we move forward. Now, I'll quickly show you the interface on Genie 1. So if we skip over to here, you can see that if I log in as a consumer user, I have access to this Genie 1 user interface, and it's a clean user interface where a business user can access the things that are being shared with them. So it might be dashboards, or it might be Genie spaces, or it might just be data that's available in the Unity catalog. And from this single prompt, I can ask questions about the data I have access to. And using Genie ontology, it will decide the best way to get me the answer. So I might ask, for example, so I've ingested some open data. So I've got some data on New South Wales accident data and New South Wales vehicle registration. This is open data that's available on the Open Data Hub here in New South Wales. I've downloaded it and ingested it. So I can ask a question here, which LGA had the most traffic accidents in 2021. And you can see it's thinking, and I can open this up and see how it's thinking, what it's doing. It's searching for information, and you can see this, it found 8 results. So this is the Genie ontology, which has looked through and found some answers, and it's found some of these data sets, and it's looking at the data set, and it's saying, yes, it's got the information I need to be able to run the query, and then it runs a SQL query against that table to get me the data. This is all without me telling it where that data would sit. So I didn't go into a dashboard for that data. I didn't go into a particular Genie space, or as we call them now, Genie agents, and ask that agent. This is got the data directly using Genie ontology to work out the best place to find that data, and it's come back with the answer. Canterbury Bankstown, so that's where I live. Great. So there we go. On the left-hand side here, you can see some of the other options in Genie 1. We can see access to those domains. One thing we can do is create a schedule. So if we have a query that we've asked and we get a good answer, we can actually schedule that to run and email me the results periodically. And there's a lot more capability coming to Genie 1. We have the ability to connect to external sources, things like Slack or email, and be able to access information on my behalf from those systems. That's all coming, and I would watch this space. So that's Genie 1. Now, I did say we had Genie spaces, and they have evolved. We've now called them Genie agents. And whilst Genie 1 is able to do a lot of what Genie spaces could do before, for those pieces of data that are pretty critical and where extra instructions are needed or extra governance is needed, then we still have the ability to create these Genie agents. And Genie agents are still there. We can create the instructions. We've got the monitoring that we had and the ability to set up benchmarks and run periodic tests to make sure that they're giving really good results. These are still a good idea for really critical data sets that are going to be used by a lot less technical people. We all have also extended them to be able to add in access to structured data, unstructured data, and also to take action through MCP tools. So we'll be able to connect them to other systems to be able to, for example, once we've got an answer, create a document with that answer and email it to or share it with with people. So that's Genie Spaces. And now I just want to hand over to Chris to talk a little bit about the new things in Databricks apps.
Thank you. Yes. So Databricks apps, I don't know if you've come across, I'll let you keep the slides on the screen there.
Sure.
So just click ahead. So Databricks apps is a way of allowing you to run like front-end applications like backed by Databricks, but it's all within the realm of the Databricks ecosystem. So under the covers, it's a micro VM or VM that runs front-end code. I use it a lot for generating AI BI dashboards. It's really good for allowing your users to have something more dynamic and interactive, and you can actually allow them to be a bit more creative than just creating an AI BI dashboard through the normal way that we'd have it. For instance, you might want to have I created one the other day, which was it was effectively looked like a dashboard, but it was an app that we wanted to provide for a customer who would normally be producing their dashboards in the normal way, which is kind of static, and they do them on a quarterly basis. But actually what we wanted to do is have it a bit more interactive. So we wanted to be able to give the users the dashboard. This is the Director Generals over here in WA. Be able to give them the dashboard, but also be able to kind of click on it and see the history where people are being able to add comments. So on that particular graph widget, they could click on it, and under the covers, there's a little chat window, and people have said, yes, this is correct, but we've got a new order of EVs coming in the next 3 months that's going to actually make this a bit better. So the ability to be add like live commentary to these widgets, and then also being able to create a Genie agent powered chat window on the right hand side. So not only do you just have the application showing you the data that was created with the concept of these are the answers we're trying to provide, but when you want to go off script, the Director General wants to actually say, well, that's great, but actually I want to know, what's the forecast of X, Y, and Z. They can type that in natural language. That was all built as a Databricks app, and it all ran in there, and I used the next feature that I'll talk about in a minute, which is App Builder. But the apps are really, really powerful. I think they are kind of closes the loop, so you don't have to have things outside of Databricks. It's still within Unity Catalog. The SSO, if we're with Entra or however else you are doing your authentication, flows through the application all the way through, so you don't have the you're doing it on behalf of the user, so you're having their permissions pushed all the way through. But it's a really neat feature. So Databricks apps is available, but what we're doing now is making it more more governed for the enterprise and for public sector customers. What people were worried with was like if I build an app, what packages is it going to use? Okay, where's it going to pull them from? Is it going to pull them from npm? And there's a supply chain attack and things like that. It needs to be a bit more governed. So we created App Builder, which is essentially like if you use Lovable or Replit or any of these app builders that you have the ability just to make a chat and say, hey, build me this. This is what we've got, but it kind of looks like Genie, but it's really tailored for building apps as well. So there's some skills underneath that really supercharge it. So you can kind of see on the screen here, you want to click on a particular thing and say, hey, make this better, right? But what else this is building on is Genie App Builder allows you to build these apps, but within what's called app spaces. Now this is coming to Australia. Unfortunately, it's the rest of the world at the minute, but coming very soon are app spaces, and these are the governed areas that you can define where your apps are going to run from the point of networking, service principals, what are your packages can be installed, what external connections can it have, and what runtime you're running it on. So it's like the vCPUs, etc. So being able to build apps in a governed environment that your admins have said you can run it. So anything that runs in here is actually going to be vetted for your environment, is a really powerful feature. But App Builder is coming soon. I've been playing with it and it is just awesome. It kind of closes that gap. What we were finding was customers were taking Claude Code, adding in the Databricks skill, which is a fine way of doing it, but you're doing stuff outside of the environment. Now it's all in here, and App Builder is kind of closing that loop. So I think that's it for the two there, but I'm really excited about this, and hopefully this unlocks a lot of creativity and other ways to surface your insights from your data.
Thanks a lot, Chris. And the last topic I wanted to cover is Genie Zero Ops. This is really exciting, and I think it's one of the best use cases of AI on the data platform that I've seen so far. It allows you to put your data and AI ops on autopilot. And what do I mean by that? Looking at ML in particular, when you're running ML pipelines to take your data and create machine learning models based on that data, typically there's a lot of that data. The process is complex, and there are constant problems that occur naturally with the running of these pipelines. We get data drift, where the training and serving skew causes problems. The data quality is not there. We see serving issues with latency spikes and errors in the inference server. And we see broken pipelines where upstream dependencies break and things don't work quite as they should. And typically these things run overnight, and these and thousands of other issues occur with our data pipelines, and somebody gets a text in the middle of the night or a call saying, come and fix it. Genie Ops, or Genie Zero Ops, keeps this system healthy. And what it does is constantly monitors running pipelines, detects problems, and using the AI, as we've seen in Genie Code within the platform, using AI to look at those errors, to understand the context, and to understand the history and similar problems. It's able to diagnose the problem, test a repair, make sure it works, and then if it does, sends you a message saying, I found this problem, this is the solution, take a look, and if you want, I can implement it. You say, yes, please, and it will implement that solution and get the pipeline back up and running. It's actually going to make life so much easier for the ops people responsible for managing all sorts of pipelines throughout the platform. And really, it does just extend what we've already been doing with Genie Code. If you've ever run pipelines on Databricks and seen them break, you probably know you can go to Genie Code and say, look at this pipeline and fix it. And it will do all of these steps, but interactively. What we're doing is giving you the ability to switch it on so it monitors and proactively makes the fixes and suggests those fixes to you, meaning that you then have the ability to sleep better and not worry so much. So I'd say that was the last topic that we wanted to cover in detail today. Just to mention, there were a lot more things covered in Data and AI Summit. If you get the opportunity, take a look at the announcements. There are online resources. The keynotes are available on YouTube. Go take a look, and you'll see the many different enhancements and capabilities that we have added. And with that, that's all, folks, for today. I did want to just add one last thing. If you want to, you can try this. This is an app that was created by one of the Databricks field. it has a lot more information about some of these new capabilities and some of the other new capabilities. It can point you at resources. It can point you at videos, sections of the keynotes, and things like that. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you're as excited as we are.